Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our first session of today, day 2 of our project directors meeting. Today, you have joined the session of higher education opportunities. And today we're going to be talking about some opportunities for our students, whether they're high school, they're going into college, they're looking into post-college opportunities. Today, we're going to spend some time just learning more about what our community members can share to our students. And so today you have Joshua Arce, President and CEO of Partnership of Native Americans, and myself, Doris Tinsley, your TA team coach. And so today, like I said, we're going to go through some really fun materials. If you are taking notes, if you're writing down information, please be sure to look into the resources tab on Cvent. We will have the PowerPoint there. And also we will share this out after the conference as well. But like I said, today we have CEO and President of Partnership with Native Americans. And I will toss it over to you, Joshua, to start us out today.
Thank you. Bonjour, Iguien, Shkigaba, Nishnaba, Desnozwin, Joshua Arce, Desnakas, Che Guaxtamiewa, Skodani Bodwadmi Minadao. So greetings, everyone. My name is, my Indian name is Shigigaba. It means bad thunder. I am Thunder Clan. I'm a member of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation of Kansas. I'm very happy and honored to be participating in the conference. I've sat in some sessions the past couple days, and it's been exciting. It's very recharging to be around such great thinkers and people that are active in this space that are making differences in the Native communities, whether it's their own or whether it's in others. And it's been a really remarkable to see. I was sharing with Doris earlier, having everybody together like this. It's like a power conference. I wish we could be together, to be able to have that other networking piece. But, this has been definitely a good experience. All the virtual tools that are available and the organization. And so I'm just really happy and honored to be here and be a part of it. So again, a little bit about me. I was the first CIO for Haskell Indian Nations University. And so there may be a few of you on the line familiar with Haskell. I'm also a legacy student. So not only did I attend the university, but my mother also attended the school along with my grandmother and many of my uncles on my maternal side of the family. And for those of you, and I'm sure this is an interesting audience because I don't have to explain a lot about what Haskell Indian Nations University is or was, or what it was in the past. But having been a boarding school and beginning that boarding school era to being the fully fledged 4-year university that it is now. Hopefully, there is a lot of history in that, and I know it's very deep in Indian country. And Doris and I were joking earlier, it's like 3 degrees of separation in Indian country, that you know somebody that knows somebody, or you're related to somebody that knows somebody. And I also feel that way about Haskell. So you know somebody that attended, or you have a relative that attended or had an experience there. From Haskell, I did go to University of Kansas, so I used their bridge program, and I started off by finishing my bachelor's in social work. And then I took a break from education for a few years, and I missed everything about the university. I missed reading, I missed writing, I missed going to lectures, I missed being on campus, I missed being a part of the campus environment. And so I went back to school and I went to KU Law. And I finished there with my Juris Doctor in tribal law and got to meet and work with some really amazing instructors there at the time. I did the Pre-Law Summer Institute at UNM, which was a springboard for me to get in the law school. But then also was able to work closely with Professor Stacy Leeds, Some of you may be aware of her and her work. She's currently at ASU School of Law, and continue to develop in that space, and working with different tribal communities at their Tribal Law and Government Center, and making sure that we continue to advocate for Native issues. And through that time and after that time, I worked locally to make sure that the rights of Native peoples were discussed, were defended, and were made sure they were front and center in a lot of ways, especially when working with tribal youth. So one of the things that I also did was a guardian ad litem for kids in the tribal foster care system at Prairie Band Potawatomi District Court. And I also worked on a program called Citizen Review Board, which was in Douglas County, and we reviewed SINC cases, the child in need of care cases for Douglas County. So again, bringing a Native perspective, when we did have Native kids that came in through that system, ensuring that they had advocacy, and that all parties involved, whether it was a social worker, a school counselor, judge, or attorneys, they all knew that there was a special set of protections that these children had provided for them through cases like ICWA, and making sure that the communities were notified and explaining those types of things to professionals. And so it's social justice and social equality has always been a passion for me, in continuing that advocacy work. Next slide, please. So a little bit about my organization now. I'm at Partnership with Native Americans. We are a 501c3. We've been around for just over 30 years. We are one of the largest Native serving charities in the United States. And we essentially work out of two locations. We have a Phoenix, Arizona warehouse and distribution center, and we have a Rapid City, South Dakota warehouse and distribution center. From those kind of hub and spoke locations, we have this impact on 9 states. And under our umbrella is 6 pillars. So under PWNA, we have 6 pillars of programs: education, food security, emergency response, health, holiday, and animal welfare. Today, we'll be talking a little bit more about education, but you'll also see some overlap into some of the other areas as well. Our goal is really to support those immediate needs and long-term solutions. So under our umbrella with the 6 pillars, we have 2 arms of service. One of them is material services, which are those immediate needs. The other pillar is long-term solutions, which is developing leadership cohorts in communities and doing advanced training in communities as well. So largely, we are working in more of the remote, rural, and geographically challenged communities. One of our board members is in Fort Peck, Montana, and she sees our truck in those communities every now and then. So, you may have seen our trucks, you may have seen us in the communities. We do a lot of work with program partners, elder nutrition centers, early childhood education centers, schools, domestic violence shelters. Those are all types of program partners that we work with, and we are injecting, a lot of these resources into. And today we'll talk a little bit more about our scholarships program underneath that education umbrella from the American Indian Education Fund. Next slide. So again, some of this, I feel like maybe we'll be preaching to the choir. You may be aware of those education barriers, but for some that are not aware, we'll discuss those a little bit. We will talk about some of the unmet needs and opportunities, but we're also going to talk about our organization, how we support Native education, and how these programs with PWNA align with the OIE programs. So, as many of you are aware, there are a number of different barriers for attending higher ed. The challenges, especially for folks coming from rural and reservation communities, are oftentimes greater or magnified because they don't have as much of an urban presence. But I think that there's misperceptions for our students, and sometimes there's this belief that college is free for Native Americans, and we know that that's not true. There are definitely some states that have moved to being more native friendly, and they have included free tuition for Native Americans, but that's something that's just recently been introduced. I know myself, with my education, I still have student loan debts that I'm paying on, and I'll probably be paying on those for a while. But these challenges don't just stop with access. And one of the things that we often looked at when we were at Haskell, and I was there working with the students for those 12 years at the university, is it really boiled down to that academic, financial, and social risk factors. But then there is also a fourth area of cultural risk factors that can oftentimes lead to a college dropout or a separation period. And so we were really trying to develop and put our thumbprint on an early alert system, a way that, I mean, if somebody's academically failing or falling behind, that's pretty clear. That becomes pretty abundantly clear with their participation in the classroom or lack of participation in the classroom, turning in assignments, those types of things. The financial component, students were really able to vocalize or advocate for themselves to say that they can't afford it, or they needed additional funds. Were there more resources financially? So we had an idea whether or not it was affordable from a financial perspective. And the social component, again, is pretty clear. If somebody was failing socially, or they were having too much social issues were impacting their academics. Some of those activities outside of the classroom were adversely impacting their performance in the classroom, or they were breaking university protocol or policies. So those types of things were pretty easily identifiable. What didn't get discussed a lot of time were the cultural risks. So when a student, for example, may have had somebody pass in their family, and they needed to go home for an extended amount of time to take care of things. Those types of things are extremely important from a cultural perspective, and with a real rigid application of the rules, it may have resulted in them failing. It may have resulted in them, being, forced to take a withdrawal, or their absences, accruing in a way that wouldn't allow them to move forward. So, bringing a highlight to those items and making sure that the instructors knew, the university knew, even all the way up through administration, that there were other issues that were unique to Native communities that need to be considered in order to ensure that they're going to be successful at the higher education level. A lot of the challenges with being at a mainstream or dominant institution, it's one thing to be at a tribal college or university. The TCUs are set up in a different manner. But when you are a one person in 1,000-person math class, at a state school or a mainstream school, it's really easy to get lost. It's really easy to, feel lost. It's really easy to, feel like your voice doesn't matter, and your attendance doesn't matter, and your participation doesn't matter. And so, it's really working with students to make sure they understand the importance of them being at a university, but the importance of them participating in university activities, being engaged in social clubs and organizations. Those are the types of things that we really are trying to combat with our programming, and just knowing the perspective and coming from similar situated communities. there's a large number of barriers in Native education. Next slide. So some of the unmet professional needs in many of the communities we serve, we hear about and we do trainings in this area, and it's training before and after college. There's a growing request for leadership training, the professional development in the workplace. Some of these discussions include, lateral violence, how to get along with different style of coworkers. But those types of requests come in pretty regularly on continuing to develop professionals in this area. The entrepreneurship and grant writing, those are two things that as an organization, it makes me really proud that we're able to deliver training for either, we call them community improvement programming. And so we are able to award micro grants to entrepreneurs. And then also the grant writing, there's been several organizations, large organizations that we were grant funded by. And after we've kind of ran our time with them, we were able to train other organizations and different smaller, some grassroots level grant writers to apply for those grants and get those grant funding. And so being able to, teach grant writing skills is super important for some of the programs to continue in their communities. The public speaking and professional networking, we, through our process, getting folks out of that, out of their shell, expanding their comfort zone, being a little bit more confident, doing public speaking activities, and also the importance and how big of an impact professional networking can make when you're at events, when you go to events or when you're attending events, knowing how to do a elevator pitch, and knowing how to catalog resources or business cards, contacts, not just with business cards and contacts, but also growing like a LinkedIn profile or space. We do a fair amount of mentoring. So our mentoring programs, we really are able to pair up Native participants that may have been through the program before and pair them up with new participants. So we're continuing that cycle and being able to pass that knowledge down from one individual to another. Our emergency preparedness programs are very not just popular, they're very much needed, but they are expansive and there's a lot of opportunity in emergency preparedness work, and there is intersectionality with food sovereignty. So in emergency preparedness work, we're taking more time to work with tribal emergency managers. We're doing preparedness training that might be CPR. It may be using an AED. We've also provided AEDs to those participant communities, but mental health first aid, all the types of things that it's better to think about on a blue sky day versus that gray sky day. And so the emergency preparedness piece is really growing and a big portion of our work these days. Healthy nutrition, we like to make sure that we're pushing food sovereignty initiatives, that we are maintaining healthy communities. Within our organization, we don't deliver highly processed foods, high sugar, high fat, high starch type of items. We don't deliver those types of things to communities, but we'd rather to have the specific training and partnerships with Native chefs to show some of that food reclamation and how to incorporate healthy lifestyles, healthy nutrition into their lifestyle to create a better overall healthy person. Project management is really a growing and emerging need that we've seen in Indian country. Many of the communities they work with They may have gotten a significant amount of funds, maybe from ARPA or from COVID funds, but there's no project manager to ensure that the outcomes get delivered. And so project management is a very highly valued skill set in Native communities, being able to get projects completed. So project management has been a growing request that we've seen for some of those unmet professional needs. And then finally, the financial literacy. We've had this request several different cohorts more recently, and we've been able to partner with Native providers in addition to mainstream like Chase Bank to come in and do financial literacy programming, but also bring in a Native provider that can talk about it from a different perspective. So you can kind of compare and contrast, the importance of credit, the importance of paying taxes or budgeting for taxes or different types of things in that financial literacy arena that it's needed to be to level up in a lot of ways, and not just in your personal finances, but also with business or even nonprofit finances. Next slide. So our stance on Native education, we think it is a cornerstone of that economic mobility. It's definitely one of the lessons I feel like I had inherited from my grandmother and great grandmother, who were both boarding school attendees at Chilocco Indian School in Oklahoma. But it was education. Education was the mobility, and it was the change agent that we needed to incorporate. And I seen my mother. She was a young mother. She was 18 when she had me, 19, and watching her go through her educational journey, it really left an impression upon me on how important education is to changing our outcomes. Making sure that we had some economic mobility. And these stats, sure, most people are aware of that work in any sort of Native education. And the one that always stands out is that less than 1% of charitable giving supports Native causes. I think that, for me, that just shows that there's a 99%, for us to go after collectively. I don't feel like we need to compete over compete with each other as Native organizations. We need to go after that other 99% to bring that in, to make sure that we're able to deliver to the communities that we serve. So, with our American Indian Education Fund, we deliver the strength-based services to support access and retention, and working with underserved Native students and career readiness paths. And this is a nationwide program, so this isn't just in a 9-state footprint that we serve. We've got students all over the United States that apply for our scholarships. And last year we were able to give out 275 scholarships. And so that was the largest number that we've been able to give out, but we had well over 3,000 applicants. So there still is a large unmet need. Next slide. So what makes our American Indian Education Fund, our education services, a little bit different is we do a K through 12, provide K through 12 services. So we do a backpack drive, we do literacy campaigns. We are currently working on a shoe campaign. We've done coat drives, those types of initiatives at the K through 12 level. For college services, in addition to the undergraduate and graduate program, we do have vocational scholarships. So that's something that it makes us unique as well. Those vocational scholarships are on a rolling calendar, but we have been able to award, I think last year we awarded at least 30 of those programs for or awards for vocational scholarships. And we're looking to continue to grow that because we also understand that traditional college is not necessarily for everybody. And when an individual is finding their vocation, and it's a good investment because they are bringing that skill set back as well, not just for their family, but for their community. Um, we have done laptops to individuals that needed them. So when we bring in new freshmen, we do send out a query to see if there are any students that need laptops. That's one of the things that I saw change dramatically when I was at Haskell. Um, Initially in 2008, the question was, does the student have a laptop? By the time I left in 2019, the student was coming with 4 or 5 devices that connected to the internet. They would have a laptop, they would have a tablet, they'd have a phone, they'd have a gaming system, and a watch. And so, there are lots of different technology has increased exponentially, and being able to attain it, but we still offer that. If there is a need, we definitely would fulfill that need. For professional services, I talked a little bit about the leadership development that we continue to work on. We do that through a cohort program called 4D. And through that 4 Directions program, we bring in, it's really tailored to what the community or the cohort has requested. So if they want financial literacy programming, then we coordinate services for that. Or if it's more on the lines of professional development and dealing with lateral violence, and we can focus in on individuals that can address those concerns and discuss that. But all of these are examples of how the education services operate for PWNA. Next slide. So we'll shift a little bit and kind of talk about how PWNA and OIE programs align. The partnering with the K through 12 schools is super important, and so this service kind of aligns with the school supplies, and it's everything from those backpack drives and we're starting those, thinking about those now, but we'll start fulfilling those in the next couple months and getting them ready for the fall. And that's to make sure that they're equipped. It's a standard challenge for K through 12 schools to be equipped for classes, and we want to make sure that they have everything that they need. And so we do contribute in a lot of supplies to those programs. We also partner with the elementary school literacy programs, and this aligns with that service of literacy to make sure that the reading comprehension and learning is at the level where it needs to be, and where students are able to advance satisfactory academics advancement through their programming. Next slide. So some of our alignment with college, one of the services, that digital training area, we did partner with a Grow with Google program 2 years ago, and it was to help deliver technical training. We finished it last year, and it was to train over 10,000 participants on their digital training tools through Google. And it was it was a great program, and it's good exposure to that digital training and that skill set of learning how to do, whether it's working in spreadsheets or how to use Word more efficiently, how to use Outlook better. I mean, there's lots of digital training tools that are available and free, and we're able to make sure we roll those out to native serving organizations to partner with us to make sure we met that number. In addition to that Google grant, we were able to expand those vocational scholarships. So that's in alignment with the vocational scholarships of service. And another service scholarship, we did award over 250 scholarships. I think it was 272 was the final number that we were able to award last year nationwide. And then we also have different groups that approach us for mentorship programs. So we've had a long relationship with PepsiCo, and they have requested to work with students that are interested in having a mentor. And so providing a professional mentor has been a very well-received initiative from the students that participate, because it's an opportunity for them to work with a professional, and they can do a resume review, they could practice interviewing, and they could do job applications together. So there's a very rich exchange between the mentor and mentee in that space for mentorship. Next slide. There we go. So additional alignment is within the for career. These scholarships that we provide, they also come with additional incentives. So we do send a care pack, and having been a college student, and especially at Haskell, I remember getting care packages, and they have been one of the best experiences to get a care package, especially when it's unexpected. And those types of care packages are packed with just a variety of items that really can save the student a trip to the grocery store. They could save a trip to Walmart. It's including things that they're going to use, the consumables that they will use, so it'll also save them money. We've done coffee cards, to get them through finals. So around the time final comes, they'll get Starbucks cards or a coffee retailer in the area to encourage them. In addition to holiday cards to give them additional encouragement to finish a semester strong and to put forth their best effort. So in addition to these programs, we do these training assessments. So this picture is a group of ours that went through a cohort, and it was in, I believe that's White Mountain, Apache. And it's just that again, it's the Four Directions Leadership Development Program, and this one particularly focused on emergency preparedness. And so it was bringing together the community, especially when they realize if something happened, there was a car wreck in front of my house, it's going to take at least 45 minutes for an emergency vehicle to arrive. Well, that's a lot of time, so setting up a triage, thinking about how to talk to that person that may have been injured, the psychology behind that. These types of emergency services in a community where they are sometimes disconnected or it's very far away, and they brought these rich stories to us and ways to impact their community in the future. So if there is a rodeo, how to deal with a mass incident at a rodeo event. What if a certain mountain caught on fire? What would the emergency plan be? And so when we work with some of these communities, we found that the emergency plan for the community hasn't been updated in sometimes 10 to 20 years. And so if there is a natural disaster, whether it's fire or flood or blizzard, there's widespread disaster in a community, one of the first questions that the emergency manager needs to notify to get federal funding is, do you have an emergency management plan, and has it been updated within the past 3 to 5 years? And so we've worked with communities that have updated that emergency management plan, so that way they don't leave money on the table. They are eligible for FEMA resources. They may be eligible for other federal resources, and it all revolves around that emergency management plan. So, these events, we hold them, typically we will hold them in a community. So this one was at White Mountain. We've held them in San Carlos. We've also bring folks together. So we'll bring communities together to meet in Phoenix in that area to have that discussion or to go over resources and do our cohort. And it's a good networking opportunity for the people, and some of them are retired, some of them are still in the workforce, some of them are still students, but you get this overall sense of empowerment, that they are learning something to better their environment and better their community. And so there's a lot of community buy-in and support for these types of initiatives. Next slide. So another area that we've briefly talked about was the emergency preparedness and CERT teams. So we're working on a conference this summer that will be in South Dakota and Chamberlain. And we were doing a big emergency preparedness conference, partnering with a few other organizations. So that way we can contact and really provide additional resources to the tribal emergency management planners or programmers or individuals within the tribes. And we see this growing intersectionality of emergency preparedness and food preparedness. So that second part of this bullet here is, the healthy nutrition with our Train the Trainer programs. So we've been able to partner with Chef Indian Eagle Elk, Chef Braveheart, Chef Ruiz. We've worked with Sean Sherman. We've assisted in the Lakota Nation Food Summit, and really trying to be a resource to help build that capacity for healthy nutrition. And there's lots of great work that's taken place out there. But if we can get together for some of these programs, I know Shakapees does a really good food sovereignty initiative. We've done some programming with Feeding America and a Natives Prepared project where we have worked with Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate and Wallapai to really do a deep dive into their food sovereignty initiatives and provide recommendations and provide access to financial resources. So that allowed us to also see what other communities are doing. What Onondaga's doing in the food space, what Huma Nation's doing in the food space, what Snoqualmie is doing in the food space. And so, there's a lot of best practices, but we also know that regionally and locally, there are experts in those areas. And if we can help put together some capacity building, then those are types of initiatives that we try to get involved with. We're in discussion with Chef Piet to do for a new series that'll be coming out. And so she's a native, a Potawatomi native that won top level chef with one of the Gordon Ramsay challenges. So there's a lot of good momentum, in this space. Like I said, the food space and that emergency preparedness space, there's also growing intersectionality. Next slide. Oh. So that's the bulk of what we had to discuss today. We did include some of our free downloads. We did put together a fact sheet for the boarding schools and also a fact sheet for ICWA. We often get a lot of questions regarding this, and those are anywhere between 12 to 15 pages, but those resources are available for download. And if there's anybody that would like to share them with, whoever may need more information or want to read up on those types of issues that are facing Indian country.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joshua, for giving us a very quick snapshot of your organization. I know it's so hard to choose which ones can be put forth today, but we really want to thank you because it's so amazing that our communities know that there are organizations out there, that we can use them, that we're not alone, we're a community. And so we do have a couple questions that came through. The first question we have is, for your services, is there a Native adapted college and career training curriculum that can be shared with other tribal education professionals?
So a Native adoption training and career curriculum.
Yes.
And actually we just did some, we were in curriculum discussions last month for our emergency management programming in the Northern Plains. And it isn't a set curriculum. We do have flexibility. So we do have, top topical items and areas that we would cover. But depending on the community that we go in and what's requested is what we'll deliver. So we loosely have some curriculum developed, but it isn't anything that's necessarily set in stone. And we just use best practices, and we also bring in native consultants or contractors to deliver those curriculum or learning activities as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Another question that came through is, I know that in the beginning of the PowerPoint, you showed a map that had your highlighted areas of service. What if a community or organization reaches out to you all for aid or for help that's not in those highlighted states? How does that work?
So we would, if we can provide assistance, we will. You know, we had that situation several years back, and I think it was Hurricane Ida or I think it was Hurricane Ida that went through New Orleans, and it really devastated the lowland tribes. And so we partnered with Huma Nation, in addition to Red Cross and FEMA, and we were able to transport goods from Phoenix over to a distribution center in Huma Nation. And so if there is a need, like, and I told this at the time, I would rather have those goods from that warehouse in that community, even though it's not in our service area per se. But if we can provide a resource, then we definitely are looking for ways to do that. We've also provided relief to communities that have been affected by wildfires that may not have necessarily been in our service area. But as long as it's a native, you know, again, I'd rather, you know, I don't want stuff sitting on the shelves in a warehouse. I want it to the community that needs them. And so if the community has a need for it, even if it's not in our immediate service area, we can be creative with getting those to the community. So it's worth an ask or an email, you know, if we can figure something out, or if we have a connector partner and we can increase that network, then we'll be a good relative and be a connector and make sure that the access is provided.
Thank you. Thank you. And that falls into the next question is what's the protocol or process of someone reaching out to possibly receive services?
Sure. So that's a good question. I think the next slide might have some contact information on it. But it would just be contacting, you know, our offices. Again, you can call the 800 number. We do have an office in Rapid City. So if you were to Google or look us up there, there's contact information. Go to the website. You can make a request there. Lots of different ways to contact us. You know, contact us through one of our social medias. You know, and we can that will be funneled to the right person and provide us some contact information, and so we can follow up. Like I said, we work with lots of different schools. You know, and I think as a resource for schools, we can help provide incentives to programming that can achieve results. And so, you know, we're a piece of the puzzle. You know, we don't have to dominate the discussion. If we're providing incentives, you know, for a family to achieve their goals or for a school to achieve their goals, then I feel like we've done our part.
Thank you. Similarly to the question that was asked before, for example, I'm from Shinnecock, I'm from New York, but I went to school in Arizona and I wanted to apply for scholarships, receive services, be in your mentoring services. Am I able to do that even though my nation is not in the States?
Sure. Yeah, I think you can definitely apply for any scholarship. So our scholarship window is open. I believe it closes, I think we close it in April, if I'm not mistaken. But we have lots of opportunities for tribal college students or mainstream schools. So if you have somebody going to Dartmouth and they want to apply for a scholarship, it's the same thing as if they were in our service area or not. You know, the mentorship programming is a little bit different because some of the liability that goes along with providing that level of oversight for relationships between students and mentors. So we are creating different and creative ways to connect mentors. But if there is somebody that's interested in being a mentor, we're happy to take that information and see if we can get them connected.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really good to know. Another question came in. Thank you for a very good presentation. The question is, do you know of any tribal higher education program which has a Grow Your Own program, a program which works with Native American students in lower grades as they progress towards college graduation?
So I think there's some really exciting work in this space in the Native inspired schools or NACA schools, and they're located out of the Albuquerque area. And I've even heard, and I know that Indian Collective is also supporting those initiatives. And so that I mean, and this is the part that's exciting is because it's taking Native basically native immersion schools, making them charter schools. And so they're taking all of those early childhood, native education principles, and at the earliest stages of development, they're implementing them. And they're starting, it's one of those things where you don't see anything initially, but you're starting to see a shift, and you're starting to see a transition and a healthier student. Now, we won't know exactly the arc of that for probably another 20, 30 years until those students are professionals in their own right. But, it's exciting because in a lot of ways, the education system is antiquated. And in some would say and argue that it's broken. And so how do we recreate an education system that is more impactful and can serve our Native communities? So the NACA inspired schools or Native inspired schools out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, they do have an application process, but they've got schools, I think they've got schools in Minnesota, South Dakota, California, Colorado, and the Southwest. So sometimes it's just the right time for a community to assume that responsibility, and they can help navigate what has to be implemented with the state, in order to charter your school.
Awesome. Just commenting back to our folks. Are there any other questions or comments for Joshua today? Really great information. Folks are saying thank you so much for all these resources. They can't wait to learn more, can't wait to contact you more.
Yes, please do. We'd love to hear from you. Again, we know that in our 9-state footprint, there are a lot of tribally operated schools. There's BIE schools, and we can partner with any of those. Those are tribal program partners. If you know somebody that works at a domestic violence shelter, we've provided personal hygiene kits to domestic violence shelters. It's like when you have a family in need and they know where to go for resources, we want to make sure that they have what they need to be successful there. Elder nutrition centers are another ones that we work with to provide shelf-stable foods, water, whatever we have, we want to get that out to the communities.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for just giving us a new insight into your organization. If there are no other questions for Joshua at this time, but if you guys do think of questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We are still able to answer them throughout today and even tomorrow in our conferences. Thank you so much, Joshua, for just being with us today. I know you have a very busy schedule and a lot to do, and we are so happy to learn how we can connect our communities to your organization.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Best of luck. I think the work that's taking place with this group in Indian country is the right kind of work. It's something to get excited about. It's the hard work, but it's also the heart work. And so we're doing this for our communities, our young ones, providing those opportunities. And it's, like I say, this has been a great conference. I've attended several sessions, and I've been really happy with all of the ideas and thoughts and thought leaders and sharing that people have put out there. So thank you for this.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So we're going to move forward and talk about some more opportunities for our students. If you have, or if you know any students, your program consist of any high school students, even middle school students. We have a lot of programs and things to share. And so my first opportunity that I wanted to share is two really amazing resources at the Indian University of North America. So just a little bit about myself. I work with you all as a technical assistance coach, but at my heart, I am a student success coach. I've worked in Native American communities as student success coaches, as academic advisors, coordinators. And so this program is very near and dear to my heart because this is where I learned the art of student success coaching for Native communities. So one of the programs I wanted to share today is about the 7th Gen Summer Program. And so this program is really awesome because if you were like me and you got to college and you saw students that you know we're both freshmen, but how come you're taking a sophomore class and I'm still here in the freshman class? Well, this is a program that allows students to receive full college credits while experiencing a culturally immersive summer. So like I said, this is the 7th Gen Summer Program. This 8-week university program is located in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And the really great part of this is that students get to live there. It's a full residential program that students are able to live in, eat in, invite their families in while earning 12 college credits. And so this is a collaboration with Black Hills State University, and also while students are here getting the education, getting these resources, it's a paid internship that matches local wage rates. So not only are students able to come to this 8-week program, take real college credit classes, earn credits, they also get a chance to work as well. And additionally, students are navigating career pathways and community skills to achieve higher education success rates. And so one of the summers, the students learned in one of their classes the importance of TP. Well, what does the TP mean to the life ways of the Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota people? And so they had a class of learning about the mathematics of the TP, the stories of the TP, and they had to put up a TP by themselves as their final grade. So, you know, what an awesome idea of incorporating our life ways into what we know as the Western class model. It was a really great way for students to see that, you know, they too can be students. They can see themselves in those classrooms. So all students are required to take the classes. They're required to take strategies for college success, work-life experience, English composition, psychology, and speech. And so, like I said, students are able to choose from a mixture of classes, but it's a really great program for students. If you know any students that are graduating high school, they're a senior looking for a transitional period into getting into, you know, higher ed, vocational schools, trade schools, whatever that may be, it's a really great program if you know any students. So students must be between the ages of 17 and 21. Like I said, graduating high school. They must have earned their high school diploma or their GED. And they have to meet one of the following requirements, which is a GPA requirement or ranking in the upper graduating class or receiving ACT or SAT scores as well. And so this is just one of the many options of the Indian University of North America. So the 7th Gen Summer Program speaks to high school students, and they also have a post-secondary portion to their programs as well. So the Weezy-Paw Leadership and Sustainability Program is for those that are seeking additional college credits, but this course ends in a certificate program. And so following the 7th Gen Summer Program, students have the option of enrolling into the next level program. So this is a unique semester-long immersive academic experience that's grounded in Lakota philosophy. It is based on the Lakota term, That means the heart of everything that is. And by this experiential education experience, students can earn 15 undergraduate credits in a certificate from South Dakota State University. And so in this program, it combines coursework in American Indian Studies, Natural Resource Management, Indigenous Health and Leadership. Additionally, in this course, students are provided with the skill sets to understand the potential of their leadership in their own communities. They get to do projects and case studies where they're able to take this information back to their own community. You know, my mom always taught me, wherever we go, wherever we, you know, our feet may take us in our life, whatever we learn, it's not ours. We have to always share it. We also have to bring it back home. And so students are taught to be innovative. The classrooms are hands-on. The experiential learning is really the root of this program. There's field trips every week. They have mentorship and they have collaborative projects that students are able to team up with local tribes as well. And so the really great part of this program is that it is fully funded. The Weezypaw Leadership and Sustainability Program is fully funded. Students are able to attend this program for free. Tuition is covered, lodging is covered, the meal plan for every student is covered. So if you know any students that are looking to dive deeper into philosophy of our people and learning more about cultural sustainability, this program is for them. And if you know any students that are just graduating high school, please send them to the 7th Gen summer program to get that jump start during the summer before they head off to college. And the resources and the links to this particular program is in our resources tab. I also wanted to point out, if you look dead center in the middle of this photo, you see me. I was a student at this program, and the person that is speaking to us is an elder, Dwayne Hollow Hornbear. And this happened during COVID. And so I really wanted to share this opportunity because it truly changed my life learning about cultural sustainability and what that looked like in my life and for Native people. And so if you wanted more information, please email indianuniversity@crazyhorse.org. The photo you see here is the class cohort of the 7th Gen summer program. These are my last round of kiddos that I have helped student success, and every single kid you see in that photo is now in college. My kiddos are off doing great things. I talk to them every day, and so I highly, highly encourage this program. There is amazing student success components engraved in this program. And so if you have any students that fit the requirements, please send them to the program or please learn more about the program. And lastly, with our time remaining, I wanted to share an amazing document. So folks that are able to go to your resources tab, you will see a tab that says programs, internships, scholarships for Native students. And I also copied a picture of what it looks like on the screen. So if you go into this Google Doc, you will see that this Google Doc was created by 3 advocates of Indian country, Dr. John Little, Dr. Megan Redshirt, and Carly Sternhagen. During COVID, these 3 advocates for Native student success put together a document that possesses literally every single current Native American scholarship, program, summer internship for middle school students, high school students. You even see programs on there for undergraduate students, graduate students, postgraduate students. And so I highly encourage you to please copy the link down. Please take it back to your community. And I encourage you to sit with your students and utilize their summers and their free time to apply for these amazing programs, for these scholarships. I mean, this list goes on and on and on. And it's a great tool that students have that was built by our community for our community. And so those are the last 2 opportunities that I wanted to share with us today to attach along to Joshua's amazing presentation. So I just wanted to see if there are any more questions that maybe have popped up for Joshua today or for myself for the 2 opportunities. We wanted to just conclude our time to make sure that we are answering all your questions, or if there are any other great resources you may want to know about that we can provide you. you are you're able to pop them in the chat or in the discussion Q&A on the C event if you have any questions. Where do we find the link for the document? Yes. So if once you guys are in the higher education opportunities event, like you are here today, you know how you can see the Q&A, you can see the resources tab. If you scroll down, you'll see it says links, and all the links are right there, and there will be the last link that says programs, internships, and scholarships for Native students. But if you cannot find the link and it is difficult, let me I will try to copy and paste it in the chat, if you would like to have it on hand right now. But it's also in it's under the description, you see it there. And you also see it in the resources tab above surveys and under polls. Just circling back, are there any last minute questions for you today before we give you final instructions and release you to have just a little break before our roundtable networking? Okay, I don't see any in the chat. Okay. And so I just want to thank you all for tuning in to the Higher Education's Opportunity session today. A great way to stay in touch with us is if you have yet to sign up for a quarterly newsletter, please email your name and email address to oie@sciservices.com. If you would like to join our listserv to stay in touch and in the know of all these amazing events, programs, grant competitions that are coming up, whatever the case may be, please also email your name, your organization, and email address with the subject line OIE listserv to oie@ed.gov. Also, please follow us at our website. On our website, you'll get to see great snapshots and highlights of our grantees. You'll get to know the top news press, get to know what's going on. And then also, if you love social media like myself, please follow us on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at OIE Indian Ed. And so with that being said, this concludes our time today. Again, thank you so much for sitting with us and learning with us and getting to know the great services we can provide for our communities, for our children, our young adults, and even our continuing adults. And so as we conclude our time, I just want to let you guys know in about 10-ish, 20 minutes, our next round of instant networking starts. And so again, if you were not able to tune in yesterday, we will all jump inside a Zoom room, and then we get to break out into the breakout room sessions of which you want to learn more about. The topics today are fun, they're interactive, they're meant to be engaging. And so I'm really excited to learn about you guys' great opinions. Also, if you really like the discussion today or even discussions yesterday, please take them to the discussion board. We would love to continue this conversation, love to dig deeper into how we can enhance our programs, enhance our communities. Again, please download the files from our resource library, the links today. If you cannot find the link to the scholarship page that I have given you, please reach out to me. Please email me, call me, whatever it may be. Send me a Twitter message, whatever. I want to make sure you guys get that document. Please reach out to me if you have not gotten it. And also, lastly, for any questions or follow-up, please reach out to your TA team. We are always here to help you. Again, thank you, Joshua. Thank you to the producers on the end. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us today. We will see you in instant networking. Have a good day.
Thank you.